Okay guys, we're just going to look at doing our first ever COVID classroom video, and our topic here is going to be manual transmissions. Moreover, the rear wheel drive manual transmission. Now this is our very first video, so I'm honestly hoping that you can see me in the shot, otherwise it's going to be fairly funny. Okay, as you can see here, we've got a rear wheel drive transmission. You may notice there's a lot more gears than just your basic 4-speed transmission. This one here has got 2 overdrives, so it's a 6-speed transmission. These transmissions were used in some of the later model Commodores, I believe, and possibly other vehicles as well. I'm not too sure on that, but what I am sure on is how this baby works. Right, you notice inside we've got a series of gears. What you cannot see is inside here there are actually 3 shafts. You have an input shaft which ends about here, just behind this gear here. You have an output shaft which goes through to the rear extension housing, and you also have a counter shaft, or some people call it a lay shaft. Down here we've got another little shaft which is our reverse idler shaft. So essentially how this works, we've got to break this down into the sections. All the gears do something to do with each individual gear in their pairs, but first of all you've got to ignore these compound gears first. These gears have a job to make sure the transmission is actually smaller. So all the gears in the gearbox would be multiplied by the ratio of these compound gears. Right, so what we're looking for first is our power flow. So in all our gears except 4th, and I'll deal with 4th later, 4th's probably the easiest one to deal with, you can see our power flow will come through these compound gears, through the input shaft, through the compound gears rather, through our output shaft, and we're going to look for first gear, for example, our smallest gear. That'll be our input gear, or our driving gear. So the smallest one's right under here. I'm not sure if you can see there on the video. Just under here we have a small gear. That is going to turn our largest gear on our output shaft. So therefore we have our first gear. Rule of thumb, it might be a ratio about 4:1. So we'll have 4 turns of our input shaft, our counter shaft, to 1 turn of our output shaft. That's in first gear. We move along now to second gear. Second gear, slightly bigger on the lay shaft and slightly smaller on the output shaft. Third gear, almost the same size gears, but believe it or not, there's actually a difference between here. The smaller one will be driving a larger gear. Very similar to your push bike. So you have different sizes on your gear train when you push bike to get your gears. Right, so we'll talk about how it works in a minute, but basically power flows first. So your power flow comes through here, across here, up here to your output shaft, and then back out your extension housing. Fourth gear. Fourth gear is a simple joining of your input shaft to your output shaft, and that'll give you a 1:1 ratio. So 1 turn in to 1 turn out. So in fourth gear you can actually see that. So this would come forward, this synchro, join those shafts together. We will be discussing synchros as a dedicated video, so we won't be doing that yet. What we will be doing is we will be going through the power flow. So with these here, you've got certain gears that are splined to the shafts and certain gears that are free floating. So on this, for example, this one here is splined to the lay shaft, and this gear here is actually floating. To select this first gear, what we need to do is pick up or join one of these floating gears to the shaft. And that's the job of the synchro mesh I was talking about before. So if you can imagine there's a fixed shaft here that's turning a floating gear. This gear is turning, but it's not turning the shaft. When we engage our synchro mesh, what we're doing is actually joining that gear to the shaft. So now what we're getting is a small gear for first driving our largest gear for our output shaft, and that's joined to the output shaft. Even neutral, all these gears are rotating on the spot. It looks like it's all working, but if you look at the output shaft, it's not turning because nothing's engaged with the output shaft. So that's the kind of a secret there for our first video. We'll follow up with further videos later on, and that's out for take one. Peace.